All right. Well, thanks guys for coming. This is a presentation all about offers and extensions. So my name is Sherry. I work in the Business Career Center. I'm one of the career coaches there in the office, so maybe you've come to visit us. If not, I hope you do. We can answer all of your individual questions if you are to get an offer or have specific questions about extensions. We're always more than happy and willing to work with all of you. Oh, you guys, are you guys here for the offer presentation?
Yeah.
You can sign in here.
Okay.
Oh no, you're fine. We just got started. So like I said, please come see us. We can definitely answer any individual questions you have. So today we're just going to talk about more kind of the process and what we see generally with looking at different offers, how to evaluate those, and then if an extension is needed. A lot of times when looking for internships or jobs, this is kind of one of those only unique times in your life where you're like kind of applying to mass amounts of things and going on lots of different interviews. So that extension piece can get a little tricky sometimes, and so definitely want to make sure we address that. Okay. All right, so basically we're again thinking through that you've already gotten an offer at this point. So just so I know who's in the room, how many of you sophomores? Junior? Seniors? Freshmen?
Yeah, I'm a freshman.
Oh, okay, awesome. Getting the information early, I like it. So like I said, this presentation will kind of start with after you've gotten the offer, you're in the interview process and things like that. So it's kind of like now what do I do with this? I'm super excited, congratulations. But now what we gotta look at that and make sure it's kind of the right decision for you. Because it's not only them picking you, you also want to make sure you're picking the right offer because you are going to be going there for an internship or for a full-time job. Want to make sure you're putting your best foot forward. So just a couple of things to think about, and these are the things that we're going to kind of look at today, are how do I actually go about selecting the position that I might be interested in, evaluating that position, how do I decide if I get multiple offers. This is awesome, but we actually do have a lot of our students that this does happen to. So it's always a nice problem to have, but it can be complicated. So how do I navigate that? How do I ask for extensions if that's needed and something that you're looking to do? Then how do I officially accept an offer, and what do I do once I actually need to reject an offer? Especially if you've had multiple offers, you might need to reject one, or if you determine that the fit isn't there for you, you also might need to reject it. So before we kind of just get in and go for it, I want to make sure I get any specific questions answered, and we're going to talk about them throughout. So just out of curiosity, is there anything that you guys were specifically curious about with understanding offers or extensions for tonight? No. Everyone shaking their head no. All right, awesome. So hopefully then we can kind of go through this. I'll answer anything that you guys have for questions. If anything does pop up, please feel free to just say something as we kind of go through. Sound good? All right. So the first thing is kind of selecting and accepting that position. So you're going to get an offer, and they're probably going to give you a timeline as to when they want to know the answer by. That's typically what they say, is they're going to say, congratulations, you have this offer. It'll either be an email or a phone call for the most part. If it's an email, it's a little bit nicer because you don't have to feel that little uncomfortableness of like, awesome, now what? But if it is a phone call, you don't have to accept on that phone conversation. You can say, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to receiving the written offer and reviewing that. And that way they can showcase that through that phone call that you're not accepting right now and that you're waiting on that written offer. You always want to make sure you look through the written offer before you do accept anything, okay? If it's an email, obviously you can say, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to looking at the offer as well, unless they've sent you the official offer letter in that email. Sometimes they might do an email that's just saying like, hey, we're putting forth the paperwork. You're going to be getting something. Congratulations. And some companies might just like give you everything at once. In that email, it may tell you how many days you have to accept that position, or it might not. And that's something we'll kind of get into, but know that you want to make sure you're thinking about what all you have going on, what companies you're interviewing with, where you're at in that process, so you know how much time that you really need to make sure you're making a really valuable decision. So don't box yourself in. So if you know you have some interviews coming up, again, you don't have to accept immediately. Just know the timeline that they're giving you. You can always, you're allowed to review those things and make sure you're making the best decision. Don't box yourself in and accept something without even necessarily knowing where you're at in the other process of other companies. Make sure you do understand the offer in its entirety. This might be sometimes things that you've never even really heard of before, language in there, especially if it's a full-time offer. Might be talking about things with like 401ks and benefits and health insurance and all of this stuff. So I would say if you have any questions about it at all, please come see our office. We can definitely kind of help you navigate through that offer, make sure it makes sense, make sure it all sounds reasonable. Also, obviously work with your own parents and families and things like that. They're going to have lots of really good advice. But you do want to make sure that you're all reading through that offer and knowing what their procedures are. So as an example, if as part of the offer, I'm going to get a $5,000 sign-on bonus, right, which is awesome. But you want to make sure you're reading that contract is, do I need to stay there for at least a year? Or if I leave before that, do I have to repay back that sign-on bonus? What does it look like and what does it entitle me to do? So again, you want to make sure you know all of those details before you're signing on the dotted line. Again, make sure you know the work schedule and how long you have for the offer. Work schedule is really interesting because that's something that maybe brought up like in the interview. But if not, that's important to know just so you can kind of gauge how is that going to work with my own lifestyle. And then finally, during the time where you have the offer and you haven't made a decision yet and you're still trying to figure out, is this the right place for me? Reach out to the interviewers. They're more than happy to answer more questions, talk to you about what that culture is like. They might be able to put you in touch with other people. Try to get as much information as you can so you can try to make the best decision as possible. Because sometimes when you meet one person, you're not really getting the whole scope of what that company's really like. So the more people you can engage with and talk to is going to give you a better understanding. And if you have any questions at all, please make sure you do reach out to your recruiter in addition to our office. The recruiter is going to help you with all the logistics of everything, timeline, any clarification you have with the benefits. And our office, again, any questions about the actual offer and what these things really mean, we are always excited to help you with that. And then I just have a note here that says like a great company name doesn't always necessarily mean it's the perfect fit, basically. Meaning, you know, a lot of times when we come into college, we think of all these big name places like Target and Sporting Goods and Nike, and those are awesome and you could have a really great opportunity, but just don't forget about the little guy, especially for internships, because you actually might be able to get more of a holistic experience at a smaller firm because you get to do more, because they might be able to put you in different departments and work with different people versus maybe the bigger firm. It might be a lot more structured and these are the 5 projects you're going to work on and that's it. So again, that's why evaluating and looking at different opportunities is really important to see what kind of experience do I want to have and what really does fit for me. Questions on any of that? All right, awesome. All right, kind of then going through and doing a little bit more fine tuning on how do we actually evaluate this position. These are things to, again, consider and making lists for yourselves. Again, just really kind of following through on things. So what's the type of work that you're actually going to be doing? Is it something that you want to do? Is it something you don't want to do? Do you think it's going to be challenging? Do you think it's going to grow the skill sets that you're hoping to advance you in the career that you want to go into? What is that company culture like? I know this is a hard question because many of you might not have had a job in this setting before, but this is a really important question. This is why you ask those culture questions when you're in the interview, because all different companies look different. When you think of what it might look like to work on Wall Street, it probably seems a lot different than what it might look like if I'm working at an Amazon distribution center, right? So who are the people that are around me? What types of things are they doing? What are the personalities? Is it a fast-paced environment? Is it laid back? Is it very traditional? And those are things that are going to fit in with who you are as a person. Is it very independent work? Are you working by yourself? Is it something where you have your own projects? Is it more collaborative? Again, knowing all of those things is really important to understand, am I going to be a good fit? Because if you feel more comfortable in that space, you're only going to just excel even more. Also, things to consider and ask is training and growth opportunities. So maybe say you get an offer and it's not at the salary you were hoping for. What does that advancement look like within that organization? Is it something where you're going to be promoted in 6 months and a year, and then you're going to get, you know, money attached to that? That might be why they lowered the entry-level salary level. But what does training look like? Is it going to be a hands-on training? Is it something where it's more independent training? Is it group? Again, just so you can understand what is that process going to look like to make sure that I'm successful in that position. Supervision, again, might be something that we don't necessarily think about because we've always just, at this point in our lives, probably just always been the supervisee and someone's always supervised you. But what kind of styles work for you. You potentially had part-time jobs with different types of supervisors, or even different faculty with different teaching styles. Where do you kind of work best? What kind of supervision style do you need to be successful? Are you able to kind of make sure you're going to get that in the position that you have? And how is that going to be translated into, am I ever maybe going to get supervision responsibilities, and what would that look like? Some other things, location, transportation, housing. Housing is definitely important, especially if you're looking at an internship. Is it included? There are some companies that will give you stipends for your housing. There are some companies that provide housing itself. They'll actually put you in different apartments or dorms for that company for that summer, or some aren't able to offer you anything. Those things are important to know if you don't plan on living at home for that internship, to know what are my expenses going to really look like, especially depending on what salary I'm going to be paid for that summer. Benefits, again, this is something to really look at. Again, what kind of retirement do they have? What does insurance look like? These are things that we might not necessarily think about right now, but say I've had diabetes from when I was a child, that benefit's going to be really important to me to make sure that I'm going to be able to get the medication that I need, all of those types of things. So understanding your own personal needs and how it fits in with your benefits. Also part of benefits are things like tuition reimbursement, are you going to be part of stock options? That's all going to be a part of your overall compensation package, which is potentially going to affect what you're going to really be making in that company. Work-life flexibility. This is something that's becoming a hot topic where it's not so much a 9 to 5, 8 to 5 world anymore. People are working different hours, weekends, nights, evenings. There's a lot of remote work, homework. What does that look like at this company? Is it something that you think you're going to fit in? Are you someone that needs something that's more structured? Get up, go to work, do your thing, come home. Are you someone that needs that little more of that flexibility where if you have something going on in the morning, you can come in later, but that means that you work later? To be able to understand those things and how you work best is important. And then again, for an internship, you're starting and ending dates to make sure there's no conflicts. If you are planning on, some people do like Maymesters, where they might be ending their semester a little bit late, or they're going to do one of those May summer abroads. Make sure you know what those starting and ending dates are and if there's going to be any conflicts. Because you want to make sure you let people know immediately if there are, and is that going to impact anything with that internship. It doesn't affect so much full-time positions because it's going to be after graduation. However, knowing that starting date is important because I have some students, we had a student last year who she got a job at IBM. She didn't start her actual full-time job until that following October. So she graduated in May and had to find something to do for basically like 5 months until she actually started her job. She really was excited about the opportunity, so she waited for that. But that could potentially be a long time period for someone if that doesn't necessarily fit. So knowing those starting times is really important. Okay. All right, so say you have multiple offers, trying to figure out which one makes sense for me. To be completely honest, I'm not going to be able to tell you which one is the best. Your parents aren't going to be able to tell you which one is the best. You kind of have to do that research on your own and make that decision for yourself because you're the one that's in that job. You're the one that's there doing the work. What we can help as a support is say, hey, did you think about all of these things and make sure you understand what all of these things are going to look like in that job and how are they different and which one is maybe a better suit for you. So maybe even literally do a list of pros and cons and which one weighs out. But this is a lot of different things that you could potentially do. List your own goals. Does that internship or job fit the goals for yourself that you're hoping to do in the future? Talk about the skill sets that you have and want to learn. What are things that you want to make sure that you're gaining in that internship or job? And does this job actually get you to learn those things, or are they going to expand your skill sets in the areas you're hoping to? What is important to you in a work environment? Again, the type of people that are there, the type of work you're doing, what is it that's important to you? And do you feel like those jobs have that within them? Overall, do you think you're going to like the job or do you think you're going to hate the job? Because if you go into it thinking, yeah, I don't know if I'm really going to like this, it's going to be a lot harder to stay motivated to want to do a good job if it's something that you really aren't that interested in doing. Looking at how you evaluate each of those, determine obviously what's most important. So depending on all of those things, you might have something that's an important piece of criteria that someone else has is not very important. Maybe location's really important to you. but it might not necessarily be important to somebody else. Those are, again, individual personal decisions that you have to make. You have to kind of look at what are the most important pieces of this internship that I want to get, and have them do all of those positions rank. I would also list the negative factors of each thing, because you might have like one company that has maybe a bunch of little negatives, but you might have one company that has a big giant negative. That big giant negative might outweigh all those little negatives. And so you really do want to know, like, what is the bad that's coming also with the good. Really hard to get there. Will the hours be too long? Does it seem like there's not really going to be any advancement or anywhere for me to go after I do this internship? Or am I going to be in this entry-level position and there's not really anywhere to go from there? Those are definitely things to consider, because your internship is only 3 months, and your first job, you will not be in that long. And for the most part, most people are in their first entry-level job for about 18 months or less. So thinking through what is going to be my goal after that is a valuable thing to consider, of what does that advancement look like, because you won't be in that role very long. You can also talk to previous interns. So we do have some really great resources on our website. We have an internship evaluation database that interns actually evaluate what their internship was like at different companies. You can go to our website and find that through this link. You can also look at our hiring statistics and see what companies are there, and then talk to your friends, talk to your peers, talk to people in student organizations that maybe intern with them, to really understand what was it that they liked about working for that company, what didn't they like, what were the best things, what were their overall takeaways from working there. Again, the more information you have, the better. Again, you can also set up a coaching appointment with anyone in our office. We're always excited to talk to you, because, again, these types of things are very individual. Everyone has different situations, everyone has different priorities, everyone has different interests. So sometimes having that individual time to talk through it can really help you in making your own decision. And then again, talking to people who currently work there. If like you're talking to a recruiter and say, hey, I'd love to get the perspective of the accountants who are actually on this account. Is that possible? Would you be able to set me up with somebody? Go ahead and do that. Again, the more information, the better. Any questions on any of that? No? Perfect. All right, so if you have multiple offers, or if you're in the interviewing process, you may need to ask for an extension. This happens pretty often for our students, which is kind of exciting, because it means that you have a lot of activity and a lot of people looking to interview you, and you have the skill sets that are necessary. But it can be tricky, because everyone has interviews at different times and gives different offers. We at SMEAL and at Penn State don't have any sort of actual timeline that recruiters have to follow. They can follow what their timeline looks like for their own needs. The reason for that is we really don't have a way of holding them accountable for that. They're the ones that know their needs and know what students they need to hire. And so we want to make sure that we're giving them lots of opportunities to do that, creating that really good relationship, so they know that they can really count on being here when they can and when they need to be. We recommend that they give you at least 15 to 25 business days to make a decision. However, if they give you 5 days, I can't necessarily make them change that, right? I have no way of being like, you need to make this, I have no like accountability to do that. They might also give you 2 months. I have a student worker who she got an offer in August, and she has until November to decide. So it really is very depending on the company. If you get a company that gives you a lower amount of time, it probably means they really want you and they are worried about losing you. So they want to make sure they kind of get you to say yes quickly. That's when I would be asking for an extension. To be completely honest, being transparent is the best thing that you can do when you're asking for an extension. The employers don't want you running around and like hiding things from them. Like, they understand that you're probably interviewing with more than just them, because of the fact that you are still looking for exploring those opportunities. So if you are saying wanting this extension, ask the question, say, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really excited about whatever within this position. I'm wanting to make the best decision for me, for this. Is there any way I can have an extension on making a decision? If they say yes, great. They might either say yes, you get another week, or they might say yes, how much time do you need? If they say yes, a week, okay, then you get at least another week out of that. If they say yes, and how much time? Give yourself that window that you feel like you need. No, you can't say 3 months from now, but you can potentially say 2 to 3 weeks time frame to make those decisions. Definitely do that. If they say no, that's when you kind of have to make a difficult decision, unfortunately. Because if they say like, no, unfortunately, there's no extensions, there isn't much that we can do about that, other than you have to kind of decide, is this the right fit for me? Or do I want to maybe go with something else that might be still in that interview process phase where I don't have a decision quite yet. If those things do arise, I definitely recommend coming into our office, so you can kind of figure out how to go about that in a way. Most employers are okay with giving extensions because they want you to make the best decision, because what they don't want to have happen is you say yes, and then all of a sudden you're like, no, never mind, and you renege on them. First of all, that stunts their own recruiting process and they have to start over. And they also don't want you to do it, even though you don't really want to, and then you're not necessarily going to be the best employee. So typically when you're asking for an extension, they're okay with it because they want you to kind of make up your mind, make your decision, make sure you're going with the best decision possible. Okay? Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Because I know the extensions thing is something that a lot of students struggle with.
Is it like a bad idea to try and hurry up other companies then?
No, so I think that's written on there and I forgot to mention it. So if you are looking for other companies to kind of push through a little bit faster, because you do have them from the table, tell those companies. I would legitimately email the company and say, hey, I'm really excited about the potential opportunity that XYZ company has. I just wanted to gauge, what is the timeline for candidates to maybe be moved on to the next step, or when candidates be notified if they were to be offered a position, because I do have an offer on the table that expires here. That way then they can see that you have the offer, they know the date, and that you're looking to potentially, they're kind of maybe a little bit higher up on your list. So it might hurry them if they really want you to say, oh shoot, this student has to know by November 1. So we better make sure we get him interviewed before that to see if he's a good fit. So I always recommend reaching out to other companies if you have that offer on the table. Say, hey, what's that timeline look like? Because I do have this offer and this is when it expires. And then I'm still very much interested in your organization and wondering if there's a way that, I can understand what that timeline looks like. But good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else at the moment? All right. I did, again, note this in red because I think this is something that students struggle with about them not having the required timelines. We just don't have any way to make employers do that. They would just recruit somewhere else and say, okay, fine, if you want, it to be that all Penn State students have till November to make a decision, we'll go to somewhere else that allows our students to make decisions before that, because they also want to fill up their slots as quickly as possible. So that's kind of, yeah, what's that?
Like the average timeline?
The average timeline for like accepting an offer, how much time they give? 2 weeks is probably what I'd say the average. A month and over is really nice. And we do see that. I'd say we probably see a month and over maybe 30-ish% of the time, 2 weeks to maybe about 40% of the time, and then random ones around there. Taking guesses at my percentages, but it's difficult, again, because everyone's trying to get decisions made quickly, basically. Any other questions with extensions? So this is just, again, something else to think about when you are evaluating your offer, is what salary really looks like. This is a little bit trickier with an internship because for the most part, you're not getting benefits with that or anything like that. But this will be more tied to when you're in a full-time position. But, is that really what the salary is? With the salary, are you getting any sort of stocks to go with that? Are you getting tuition reimbursement? Are there going to be bonuses that come each quarter? What does that growth kind of look like? So knowing those things can really actually tell you, okay, it says that my base salary is 50, but I'm actually going to potentially have the opportunity to get commission every quarter, so I could actually make really up to 60, okay? So those are important things to think about. Are you able to get in stock holdings, which can be really, really good, again, because you're taking part in ownership of that company. So that company does well. That investment could be very successful for you. What is their 401k match for retirement? This ranges all over the place. So the company might say, we're gonna, you put in 4%, we put in 4%. The company might say, you put in 4%, we put in 9%. That's a big difference, right? It's a lot of different money. So knowing that is going to change how much money you have when you retire, which you do want to make sure you have money when you retire. That's important. So definitely think about that. What are their health and well-being plans? Some places offer like, hey, you get free gym memberships in certain places, or you get discounts in certain areas. What does that look like? Because that, again, helps reduce those costs. Any sorts of assistance, mortgage and auto insurance, adoption, tuition assistance. There's lots of different rewards that employers really try to showcase. And what's really interesting, a lot of times we don't necessarily use it. As an employee, we don't use all of the services that we even know exist for discounts because there's so many. You only ever think about it when you really need it. So there's a lot out there that you should always be looking at is like, what is actually available for me to be able to reduce my costs? Like at Penn State, I get a Verizon discount for working at Penn State. So those are things to think about. I get 25% off my bill, right? So making sure you know all of those things is really important. And if there's any sort of education help with the plan, will they help maybe pay back any of your student loans? There was someone that I know who, she went off to go be a lawyer. You can make lots of money as a lawyer, right? She decided to actually work for the city in Harrisburg, making decent money. But if she stayed there for 10 years, they were going to pay off all of her student loan debt. Student loan debt for law school is a lot of money because you don't get any help. So that was actually a lot more beneficial for her than maybe going somewhere and making $30,000 extra more dollars, because she'd actually get more money if she got all of her loans paid off. So those are also things, long-term benefits are also something to think about. So you kind of have to do the math on that. You guys are all in business. You guys can maybe figure out that math a lot easier than I can. Okay. Questions on that? If not, I'm gonna make you guys do an exercise. An easy exercise. So we have 3 offers up here, okay? And this could potentially happen, right? We get an offer, we have to figure out decisions, what we want to do. So we have today's date, which this was from last year. It hasn't even hit 10/12 yet, but that's fine. Today's date is apparently 10/12. And the offer from company A is $60,000. I'm going to get $10,000 bonus if I accept by 10/20. I'm going to get $5,000 if I accept by the end of the month. And I will help pay for your MBA, but you have to stay with my company 5 years after you get the MBA. Offer 2 was that I get $65,000 a year. I'm going to get a $5,000 bonus if I accept by the end of the month, and that's it. There's no other option. But I'll pay for half of the MBA, but you only have to stay for 3 years after your MBA. And then offer from company C is that I'm still in second rounds. That's scheduled for November. So I don't know anything else because I haven't had the final interview yet. I don't have the offer. So if you were this person, which offer do you think you'd go for and why? It can be different. I'm just curious to see what you guys think here. What would you guys do? Anybody?
I feel like I'd go for offer 2 or B, just because it's like less commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Just personally.
Yeah. So the commitment is where the priority was for you.
Yeah.
Okay, definitely. How about anybody else? Anybody going for yeah?
I think I'd go with B as well because, I mean, they don't offer as much in like extras, kind of like bonus and education stuff, as one does, but one makes you stay there longer and make less for a longer period of time. So I think I'd go with B because it seems like a pretty happy medium.
Okay.
It's a good.
Yeah. No, there's no right or wrong here. This is kind of what you guys would do. Yeah. Would anyone go with A? Now, I'm getting a lot of heads up. Anybody risk it and wait and not accept any and wait the second round from company C?
I'm thinking about doing it, yeah.
Oh, that's where you are.
Yeah. It's a walk away.
What? Oh no, that's super nerve-wracking. And I always say, how comfortable are you with risk in that? Because that's what you're doing, right? You don't have the offer yet. So if you have to decline the guarantee and go with the potential, there's always a lot more risk involved in that. But is that risk worth the potential opportunity that you have there? Because unfortunately, I can't change the timelines of the employers. And I know that's not helpful, and I know it's tricky. But if all employers ran on the same timeline, that would look really interesting.
Be way more.
For you, not for them, which is why all the employers, it's so different. So some employers want to get done in there early because they want to make sure they get the best candidates. Some employers are like, we have to figure out a new strategy, so we're actually going to push back our recruitments, or we have this, we're very structured, we have this timeline, this is what we're going with. We're a quality company, so people that want to work with here are going to kind of follow suit. So there's all kinds of reasons why companies make their timelines. And so sometimes we unfortunately have to play that game. So I guess the question you have to ask yourself is, if you don't get the offer from company C, are you okay with starting the process over? That's really your biggest question. And you don't have to answer me right now, but that's the one that you have to think about.
Why, like right now, like today, October 8th, like where should companies be? Because like I get on a plane tomorrow morning to fly to Florida, and I'm hoping I leave Florida with an offer.
Okay.
And I have other companies that are like, record yourself answering these interview questions. And I'm like, the train's leaving the station here.
Yeah. So
like where should companies be right now?
So should is a really broad term. It depends honestly on the industry you're looking at. If you're looking at finance, accounting, you're probably in the interview phase somewhere, unfortunately. So it could be that they're just starting the interview phase, they're ending the interview phase. If you're like in IB banking, like they already have offers out. They're like done for investment banking, right? But if you're in corporate finance, they're probably all kind of interviewing right now. Accounting's all interviewing right now. Supply chain's probably in offer phases. If you're in marketing, they haven't even posted jobs yet. Because all marketing, for the most part, recruits in the spring. So there are a few companies that have positions out, but the bulk of marketing is actually spring. So it really depends on the job function and the industry. There really isn't a standard, and it depends on the size of the company. So larger companies tend to recruit earlier, but smaller firms have a lot more of like last minute hiring, so they might be recruiting a little bit later. If you have set structured, like if you have something where they have super days and there's set days, like that's the structure. Right? If my super day is on Friday the 18th, that's it. But if I'm not super structured, I might have wiggle room to move things up, or hey, you know what, something came up, a big project, we have to actually push this back. So I hate to tell you that there is no should. I will tell you this. October is our busiest interview season of the year. If that helps. Probably not, but.
I just like sitting here, like I have an interview like tomorrow, and then I know that I have an interview in a month. Like I know that I have interviews like for the next
Does
month.
the interview that in the month, did you let them know that you have other things in the works? Did they know
Like
that?
I had to reschedule with them because they wanted me to, like I already had a commitment to attend like another event on the day they wanted me to like come to their facility.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they're probably a little less flexible now. Because they already have everything filled up, and that's why you're in a month from now?
No, I asked to like push it back because I had another commitment on the day that they wanted to do that.
And it wasn't a commitment that you were able to get out of?
Well, I mean, it's another company.
It was another interview?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Is it your top company too?
Yeah, the last one's in a month.
The last
And
one's
my top company is in a month. My number two.
So my question for you is why is that the one that you pushed back if that was your top company?
Because I already committed to the other.
The other one was committed first.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any other time before that month?
It's okay.
No, that's
always
frustrating.
hiring. If it doesn't work out, life will go on.
I mean, here's the thing, and this is the thing you have to remember. It sounds like you're getting a lot of interviews. Sounds like at least 3 interviews from what you just said.
Yeah.
Right?
At least. Yeah.
At least. So that means that people are interested in you and people are seeing the good things that you have, which means that even say the last company doesn't work out, there are other companies that are going to see the good things that you have because of the fact that you've been getting so many interviews, you've definitely been able to showcase your skill sets. So it doesn't mean that you won't get anything, but it might mean that you give up something. So if you don't get that number 1 company in November, and you start that interview process over, are you okay with the fact that you're taking something now that you didn't want as much?
Yeah, I'm okay risking it right now.
Okay.
I've made peace with it, because like I said, there's companies that are still like way behind the rest of the trains.
Yeah. No, I know, and I wish I could tell you I could tell you a better answer, but they have their own beat, they have their own policies and procedures, and it's really hard to keep them all on the same page. Which is why we at least have a recommendation of at least 15 to 25 days, because they don't even necessarily follow that. So it can be really hard to corral them all.
Now, counting my chickens before I have eggs or whatever, is it okay to to leverage an offer against another one?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
as long as you have those offers, yeah.
Can I leverage an offer against another offer inside the same company? Because I'm getting looked at by two different divisions.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but I guess you'd have to have your reasons as to why you're trying to negotiate those offers if you have one that you really want to have. And I'm assuming you're trying to leverage salary.
Probably.
So then what you'd have to look at is, are they doing the same type of thing? Because if they're doing two different things, then it's hard to showcase the salary, right? So as long as they're doing the same thing, just in a different division, you would be able to leverage that.
Thank you.
Definitely at least a conversation to have, especially if two different divisions are looking at you. Again, that showcases that company's really interested in you. They're probably willing to work with you, at least somewhat. I will say there are a lot of companies, as I say that don't negotiate. Mainly because they're saying, you know what, we're not negotiating on entry level positions because you haven't proved yourself yet, right? So we're going to save our negotiation power for people who have maybe been in the field 2, 3, 5, 7 years, because they've been able to show what they've got to do in the industry. It's also something they're trying to do to combat a lot of the gender discrimination and pay gap, because if you all start out at the same salary, you don't have to worry about it, right? So there are a lot of companies going, I always say it's the last question, but just so you know, there are a lot of companies going that route. Yeah. Any other thoughts with this?
So if they do say, we don't negotiate at all, it's do you say we're supposed to ask the question?
Oh, no. I mean, you would ask it if they say if they tell you flat out they don't negotiate, don't even bother asking. But if they not send anything and they say, hey, we're offering you $65,000, and you come back and say, this is a really great offer, I'm really excited about this. I was wondering though, based off of my skills that I've had and the experiences I've been in, I've done some research on, what the salary scales look like for this type of role. I was wondering if there was any room for negotiation. And if they tell you no, then you leave it alone, right? But if they do have room to negotiate, they'll say, okay, what were you thinking? Or, what did you come up with on your research? Because they want to get your number. And then that means that they're probably willing to work with you. Okay? But you always, at least, if they haven't already told you, if they tell you no, don't bother, because then they're going to be offended that you didn't listen to them, basically. But if they didn't say no negotiation, definitely ask the question. Good question. And if you do have questions specifically on salary negotiation, we are doing a presentation on that next week. I'm always going to be running that. It's an hour-long workshop of actually walking you through here's examples of what you can say. Here are things that they might have said to you. So it's a really cool interactive workshop on actually negotiating salary.
Is that going to be taped and posted?
Yep, so everything's being recorded right now, and what we're doing is we're actually starting a YouTube page. So we're recording everything and then uploading it to our YouTube page, and that link will be available on our website.
And that's current? Say this event or that event would be posted on the day, or you guys?
It won't be posted on the day.
Okay.
So it'll be posted after the fact. The only reason is, honestly, we were doing live streams, and we were having such an issue with the live stream, getting cut in the middle of it and things like that, that we're let's just record it to make sure it works, and then have it posted, right after that. But everyone that signs in, I email the presentations to as well.
Okay.
But if you're looking for other ones, they'll be posted within. What we're doing is uploading all of them. We're going to send out a big push, and then you'll be able to access all of them. Good question. Anything else with the offer comparison? All right, so then obviously once we've actually gone through our multiple offers and figured out which one we actually want, congratulations, let them know that you're accepting the positions, and make sure you ask any clarifying questions if there were things that you had concerns about or questions on or anything that was vague. Make sure you get all of that in writing if like you've decided on something different, if you did negotiate the salary, like, or a benefit, make sure you have all of that in writing. Only because that way you have it. It's not to say that the company's gonna try and manipulate you out of it, but some things are forgotten. If it's just something that's on a verbal conversation, things could be misunderstood. So make sure you do everything in writing once you get that offer. And then you do need to withdraw yourself from the recruiting process. You are no longer going to be able to be interviewing with other companies, things like that. I need a better example because it really only affects women, but I always use the prom dress example of like once you buy your prom dress, you don't keep looking for a prom dress because then all you do is think that you found something better along the way. That's why you had to drop out of that recruiting process. You've accepted, you've committed, you're done. Establish, so if you forget or something like that, because I know in Beeline Careers, you can have applied for multiple positions, email our office and we'll make sure you withdraw from everything that you need to. Again, because we don't want to make sure that you aren't taking a spot away from someone else who is still looking for an internship or a job. Make sure you establish your starting date, inform other firms that have offered you a position, make sure you withdraw from those as well. And then you can also make us aware of your offer, and that's really, again, just for our own data and statistics. We kind of house the senior exit survey that says where all of our students are going for full-time jobs, and we also house an internship database that shows where our students are interning. This is really great for future students, so we can say like, hey, this is where all of our students are going. These are the companies that are excited about you. These are the opportunities they have. So if you guys don't give us that data, it makes it really hard for us, because if you don't give it to us, and employers don't give it to us, we don't know where you guys go. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. Any questions on accepting the offer? Okay. Rejecting an offer, obviously be respectful, be grateful, let them know that it was a great opportunity, just not the right fit. You are able to reject an offer and not necessarily burn a bridge as long as you're respectful about it. You are transparent and showcase them the reasons as to why. You can maintain good relationships with those companies. What companies really want to see more than anything is that you are honorable, you have integrity, you're making decisions that are like nice and ethical. It's when you're kind of trying to be manipulative or sneaky, that's when you can burn a lot of bridges. So just remember that I thank you so much for all of your time. It did not come to this decision lightly, because again, they're going to be okay. They'll be able to handle it as long as you're respectful. Talked about this, rejecting an internship offer won't necessarily destroy chances for a full-time offer. Again, maintaining those connections and letting them know why maybe you decided to go that route and what you would hope to gain maybe a full-time employment definitely can really help you, and doesn't necessarily burn that bridge. What will burn a bridge is if you do renege. Reneging is something that SMEAL as a whole does take very seriously. Reneging is basically when you accept an offer and then you go back on that and then say, never mind, I'm not taking it. First of all, it can burn a lot of bridges with you and that employer as an individual, and you don't ever necessarily know where that employer is going to go after that. So these recruiters move around a lot, so you potentially might burn a bridge at more than one company. The recruiters also come back year after year at Penn State, and if they know that you reneged, they all talk, to be quite honest. So you potentially could get, your name could come up in conversation with other organizations that you might be wanting to recruit for. Again, those things may not ever happen to you as an individual, but they very well could. It's a risk that you take. But as a bigger issue with it for SMEAL itself, is it does give SMEAL kind of a bad brand, because it's showcasing that our students don't have a lot of honor and integrity, which we also say we do have with the honor code. But it might mean that our employers say, you know what? I've had 5 renegs from Penn State in the last year. It is not worth my time to recruit anymore, because these students clearly don't value my job. And we could actually lose employers rather than gain employers. And as the college, our job is to make sure we're giving students lots of opportunities, so we do take reneging very seriously, and you do have kinds of consequences if you do that, both within the college, personally, and then you do actually get banned from using it in careers, because we do take it very seriously. So I do want to showcase that, because it is something that we really do value. Basically, it's about honoring the commitment that you have, even if it's for an internship or a full-time job. Remember, that's not a death sentence, right? Utilize those connections to go on to your next bigger and better moves. Questions on the renege policy? Okay. So I think that's it. So I have one more slide. So again, it's all about making your own decision. You can get all of the advice in the world. Talk to everybody you can. Talk to our office. Talk to Bank of America Career Services. Talk to your parents, friends, family. You're going to get lots of different opinions. At the end of the day, you have to go with what makes most sense for you, and knowing all of the different positives and consequences that go with what your action steps that you're going to go and take. Okay, so prepare, do your research, know what you're going to be doing with those different opportunities that you have. Take the time you need to make sure you're making that decision, and ask for an extension if possible. And then go ahead and proceed and be excited. You got the offer, you're ready to go. You no longer have to stress, and you can enjoy your time. Okay? Any questions overall? All right, if not, that's all I have for you for tonight. So I'm around if you have any individual questions. If not, like I said, if you have something you want to specifically talk about with your own situation, please come see us. We're happy to see you. Okay? All right, thanks, Jen.
Thank you. When was the salary?
That's next Wednesday. Yeah. You should go see that on our website. And Ashley Ricky will be doing that.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're the other Ashley, correct?
No, I'm Sharon. That's okay.